Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Classroom to Boardroom, a podcast by Think Now Classroom, where we dive into the journey from education to professional success with leading experts from different fields. Today, we have the honor of speaking with Ramesh Narayanaswamy. He's a thought leader in technology and innovation, currently the CTO at Aditya Birla Capital. With a remarkable career journey across multiple industries, he has led transformational changes and helped organizations harness technology to drive growth. Welcome to the podcast, sir. We are so excited to have you today with us. Uh, so today we'll be diving into your journey, insights, and perspectives on education, skills, and career. So let's start by talking about your education and professional journey. Tell us about yourself. Feel free to share any memorable experiences from your school or college. That kind of influenced your career path into technology.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure, to participate and contribute, what I have seen in my life, and hopefully this will be useful for people, who are listening to it. As is introduced, my name is Ramesh Narayanaswamy. I'm currently the Chief Technology Officer for Aditya Birla Capital. I have more than 26 years of work experience now. Going back, I studied in Chennai for my schooling days till class 12th. I did science and mathematics, which I was always interested, and I was very interested in chemistry actually. I mean, I did extremely well. Might be kind of chemistry runs in the family. My sister did extremely well. My aunt was a gold medalist, so kind of there was an influence of doing chemistry. And then after college, I went to BITS Pilani, a great institute, which I think shaped my thinking, my career. And what was interesting was in BITS Pilani, I actually took biological sciences, even though I never did biology in class 11 and 12, right? So that itself, was my first, understanding to see how all these subjects are interconnected. Because when I studied, biological sciences in BITS Pilani, what I realized was it was actually more chemistry, than biology itself, right? We got introduced to biological chemistry, molecular biology, gene expression. All those things really, helped me in my thinking. And also, I did a dual degree with engineering and instrumentation. That's a great thing, right? In 5 years, you get two degrees. I mean, you need to put in much more effort, but it was a fascinating time, and I think Pilani as an institution really shaped thinking as to how we do. And if you see the education system, we don't need to attend classes. Okay, I mean, this might be that one of the few institutes where attendance was not mandatory, but then it also gives you the responsibility of saying that why you need to attend classes and learn it, right? Because it just that it doesn't mean that if you don't need attendance, you don't attend the classes. In fact, I pretty much attended all my classes, so that I think I can still remember. That also teaches you to get into a certain kind of discipline, how to do it. And then I finished my degree. Then I did my MBA in Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. I did it in strategy. Again, it was quite intense because I did it in part time. So pretty much during the day you work, and then attend the classes in the evening and do the assignments in midnight. That also says that how you need to put in effort. But I think to top it all, actually, I'm studying currently again. I'm doing my master's in public policy and technology with University of Turin. I've completed the coursework. I'm doing my thesis now. But I think it's really to see, as time progresses, how you need to keep pace with what's going on in the world, right? I mean, sometimes it is extremely important that we get a formal degree because learning differs from people, right? For me, formal learning, classrooms, assignment, exams are very important for me to learn, even though I read from books, etc., etc. So that's what I would characterize my studying, in terms of studying various subjects, studying with various intensity, and keep learning is something which I've done continuously, which I feel that have helped me in my career too. So that would be the part of my learning experience which I wanted to share with all of you.
Right. Thanks for sharing that, sir. And I totally agree with you on the thing that you mentioned, that while you were in bits Pilani, you did not actually opt for biology, but when you were studying that, you understood that there is so much cross linking between the subjects, and that really intrigued you. And like that is something, like that is exactly what we are trying to also inculcate in our courses, because we as like students, college students, school students, also realize that we kind of compartmentalize the information that we get from, say, thermodynamics, or say some other transport phenomena, and we don't kind of interlink the subjects. So that is something that we are trying to focus in our course, that students should see chemistry, biology, maths, everything as one unit, and not like in the silos. And the second part that you mentioned about how you are still giving so dedicated to keeping matching your pace with the current industry, that's very much similar to that, takes us to the second question, which was exactly that, to start things off, we always hear about how the job market is changing, how new industries, new jobs are cropping up that nobody could have imagined a decade back. So in that view, what do you think would be some of the future careers that students can prepare for, or future skills, if you might, and how can our education system prepare students for careers that do not even exist as of now?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great question, and I completely agree. In the last, I would say in 5 years, a lot of things have changed, right? I think COVID was kind of catalyst, at least to say how education would be delivered, right? I mean, otherwise people never thought at, till your secondary school or even in tertiary school that everything can be done through online. And if you see the number of certifications available today in any field is just mind blowing, right? And as a part of my personal development, as a part of my development teams, we really look at a lot of things for which material is available, clarity is available, and experts are available, right? But I think something drastically is going to happen in the next 3 4 years. I really don't think we can leave out the artificial intelligence part of it, right? And in fact, I would say if someone would have spoken to me, 2 months back, I would have given a very different answer to this question. And I was in the US, San Francisco for 10 days in September. That has completely turned my view on a lot of things, because I could see artificial intelligence in real action, right? A driverless car is real today, right? I mean, in fact, all my trips when I was there, I took in Waymo in the driverless car, and then suddenly you realize what you thought it was a science fiction or something's going to happen. In that case, I'm a very common man going down, downloading my app and sitting in the car, and the car takes me everywhere. So I think, first thing we need to really do, see the fundamentals and the basic knowledge is not going to change, right? And to be honest, a lot of basic questions in physics or chemistry is still not resolved, right? I mean, the great example is if anyone would have seen the Nobel Prize for medicine, for this year, which is on microRNA, is a fascinating topic, right? When we were studying molecular biology, we also used to say microRNA exists, and that was it. In the last 25 years, it has come up. But few things which I think we should be careful. Irrespective of what happens, I think people should learn fundamentals. Okay, I think it is not possible, by not knowing the fundamentals, we are going to achieve certain things, right? Today, good, the information is available. We can search it, or we can ask multiple tools to get the fundamentals. But it is very important, because the way in which our mind thinks is that once it understands the fundamentals very well, it can build up very fast. Because otherwise, the correlation point which we discuss becomes very, very difficult, right? Because then we see things as discrete, and the outcome will be very tough. So I think the fundamentals are very important. How we are going to study is more important. Might be you don't need to memorize everything, but you should be able to explain to people when the question is asked, right? That time we cannot say, why don't you find the answer yourself, right? It could be very basic questions on gravity. It could be a very basic question on, how does the DNA replication happens. It could be a very basic question on speed of light. All those things are very fundamental in defining and building, the objective to the next level. That's number one, right? And second thing, as we said, artificial intelligence. How can we read, right? The way in which we are going to read. See, here I would like to make one very clear point. I think by the time we are coming to kind of finishing primary education, getting into secondary, I think we should be able to find out what is the way in which the person wants to learn. Okay. And that I think is going to change, because when you go to a school, the way in which it is taught, it is the same for all the students, right? But why do some students get marks and why do some students don't get marks? I think we make a mistake of saying that it is actually the individual is not rising up to the level, but in my view, it is how it is being taught. As I said, if I don't attend a classroom session, and I have seen in my entire career, and actually I don't score good marks in that subject, right? So now it is suddenly I realized in my life it is very important to let the kid know, let the student, the parents should be able to really find out what is that learning mechanism they like. And schools might not provide that learning mechanism, because someone might be very good at reading on their own, right? But then when they go to the classroom, how do we ensure that we tell them that, hey, you can read on your own, still go up to the class? I think this is going to become very, very important in the coming age, because someone might be very good at just listening to YouTube, right? Someone could learn very well by just seeing shorts, right? And I think that is very, very important, and then I think we'll have to find out that and tell and nurture that individual to that direction, because that is what is going to make a difference. That same set of things setting to all, I don't think is going to make a lot of difference, right? That's number two. And third is the whole thing of how do we correlate, what I would call as a lateral learning. Okay. You should know those subjects, the basics are there, the tools are there, you're able to, but then how are you able to correlate all those kind of things? I think that is the third aspect of learning we should do, right? And what we should be very careful is, since we have gone through a certain set of learning patterns, that learning pattern might not work. So that is where I think, parents or teachers have to spend time on this, right? Because what worked 15 years back is not going to work. As long as the person who's providing that learning understands that, I think we can draw a very unique set of pattern as to how the person should learn. And then if we deliver that, I think we will be able to ensure that people get quality education and move forward, to the next thing in life.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I really liked your emphasis on, uh, the basics, the fundamentals, because when we talk about the future skills and the future careers, everybody just kind of hangs on to okay, AI and finance and marketing and things like that. But that's really a fresh perspective for me, where you kind of focused on the fundamentals, because that is something that kind of is underlying concept behind everything. And your second point was truly tremendous in terms of uh, how you said that uh, a learning mechanism, or the best or most suitable learning mechanism for me could be very different from you, but the school or the education system is kind of following a similar pattern for all, because of, and a lot of logistical issues. There are a lot of kids, there are less teachers and things like that. But yeah, I mean, that is something that could definitely parents, something that parents could incorporate at home in their learning environment, that they try to, with their child, they try to find out, okay, what works best for this kid, and then try to channelize in that direction. That was really insightful, and probably something that we'll also use as advice in, like, while developing our product in the startup. Okay, so now thinking, we talked about the future careers. Now let's talk about life skills. So, this is something that we are asking each of the guests, and because our guests are from different professional backgrounds. So, what do you think are the top three life skills that you need in your profession, as the CTO of Aditya Birla Capital? So that, we give an insight to our, viewers, that, okay, different people are requiring these kind of life skills on job, in their profession.
No, no, absolutely. And I think, especially in technology roles, I think what happens in lot of times is people understand the functional part very well, right? So someone working in financial services might be they know about all functional products, right? So as you grow up in the ladder, the functional knowledge takes over technical knowledge. Okay. But if you want to do in technology, I think we should really ensure that we understand the details of technology. That is something which I do, right? I keep I put in a lot of effort to ensure that whatever the latest technology developments I know, because that's extremely crucial, right? Because technology can be applied to any business or any function or anywhere. So it is quite important. So that is a very important skill, because what I have seen a lot of people is that over a period of time they become so functional, they understand banking very well or they understand logistics very well, and their knowledge in technology goes down. Okay, that is something which I think is important, because in modern day, if you don't understand technology, you don't understand risks, because majority of the risk which are going to originate in the next 15-20 years will be a technology risk, right? Because either the technology is applied wrongly or the technology has created a problem. So now suddenly, if you don't understand this, it becomes impossible to manage the business, right? So deep understanding of technology, and secondly, the risk associated with technology, in my view, are two very important things. Since you have asked the third one is, to be very conscious of, things like climate change, sustainability. Those things are important, because when we grew up, people did not teach all those kind of things, right? Today we need to really understand that, because if we don't do that, might be the earth will not survive for the next 100 years. Right now, I cannot say that it is not important to me, right? Because I'm contributing a lot to that, right? Understanding, I mean, carbon footprint might be a lot of people understand, but do we understand water footprints? How many liters of water is actually required to make a cellular phone? It is very important for people to know, because we're running out of fresh water, right? And I'm sure all of you would have seen, rains in Sahara, unheard of. So I think that is three things, right? As I said, understanding of technology, understanding of risk originating from technology, and things which will ensure that the planet stays alive are the three skills which are very important for me to do. Because solutioning matters when I take these two things into account. I think we get a very different kind of solution than traditionally solving the problem just for the sake of solving a problem.
Right. Yeah, I mean, knowing about these three things is, I feel like have become the topmost, important in today's world for any product, like for any simple thing. And I feel like for an individual, for a customer also, at this point, it has become very important that whatever life choice do you make, your food choices, your, shopping choices, anything, you always keep in mind in the background at least that, what's the carbon footprint of that. Okay, you could maybe order a lot of stuff from Amazon, maybe you will return it, but is it like piling up the waste, or is it like getting back into the cycle? You always think about those things apart from the money aspect also. So I'm pretty sure, the position you are at, I mean, that's like a really critical thing, because that's going to affect a lot of things at, a larger scale. So yeah, and like you had mentioned before, technical skills are definitely extremely important to, like, not just developing a product but kind of understanding the risk of it. But they aren't enough on their own. So you know here I would like to take a moment and talk about emotional intelligence. So in your experience, how important do you think is emotional intelligence, and how do you think parents or schools can help kids nurture that from very early on? And do you feel, is it something that has to be nurtured very early on?
No, absolutely right. I would answer this in two parts, right? One, as again, I would say, if someone is a parent at 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years, 50 years old, I think they also have to really learn a lot of things, right? Again, what my father, kind of brought up with me, right? I mean, I could take 50% to my kids, but the other 50% has to be different, right? And in some cases, I also do not know actually what to do, right? So then we talk to people, we try to understand and get it done. And second thing, right? The society has got a huge impact on how this is being done, right? Because we follow kind of larger societal rules, a kind of class rules, your cohort rules in bringing up kids. So that, I think, also plays a very important role, in terms of what he's doing. So we need to see how our environment is in terms of, getting things done. And third thing is, I really feel, today, seeing a lot of, young kids, young students, see, they've got a very different view of life. What I'm very happy is that they're learning a lot of things very fast, right? And I think as adults, as parents, there are a lot of things which we can also learn from them. And because I really feel they're very climate conscious. I think they're really, how do we? They want to take care of people. They really don't like if you speak in a very loud voice, right? These are things I have myself learned from my kids and other kids I have seen, around, from my friends, etc. Because there are people, they're beautifully, think through. And I think the education system has already started imparting all these kind of things in larger part of societies, right? It might be in some countries, might not happen. In some countries, it happen. But there is a very distinct kind of thing we see. But then the question we need to ask is whether that is available for every kid and every student, or it is getting to only a particular strata of society. And that's the problem I have, right? Because I think this kind of exposure is having for people, who are slightly well off or able to go to that kind of schools. But at that bottom of the pyramid or in the middle of the pyramid, I think the education is still, people might not be bringing these topics quite often to, discuss. So I think that gap we need to somehow fix it. And I think, as I said, the old rule of, the command control, I think slowly those kind of things are going away. And I think we need to, adapt and also tell people about it and learn from, others to do it. And I think, this whole thing of, if you take emotional intelligence, we take study, it is also means to define people what it means success in life, right? See, that will be very important, because if that definition we don't change, these things get impacted, right? If we say that, look, if everyone has to become a CEO, or everyone has to become a CTO, or everyone has to do engineering, or it is going to be a problem. Then the question is, who's going to do a lot of other works which are available? So I think we should also impart saying that success can come in multiple ways, and it need not be a very stereotype path. I don't think we should mentally stress anyone. And again, this goes back to my first point, right? We should really try to spend time to see what is the kind of learning you like, how you want to learn, and then take them along. Is something which we need to do. And then I think, the whole thing of emotional quotient, emotional intelligence is a part of it, because sometimes just focusing on that alone is not going to help, right? Because you need multi skills to do all those kind of things. But I think it is a very important skill which has never been taught before. So I think teach people that, but again, correlate with a lot of things going on in the world. And I think sometimes you have to also correlate to the society in which it is there, because sometimes, if that concept does not exist in society, trying to push them hard does not make sense. And I think, we also need to see how this is being done across all levels of society. I think that is extremely crucial. And that's why I think the role of the governments, the role of institutions, the role of, sometimes even, private sector becomes very important in terms of how we define this and take it forward.
Right, right, yeah, that's completely true. And like you mentioned that to talk about how emotional intelligence can be nurtured, it's very important to first take a step back and just get very conscious about your definition of success. Like, are you kind of imposing a definition of success? Because if you are doing that on one hand, and then at the second level you're talking about emotional intelligence to a kid, then he or she will be all like, it's not correlated. So it has to be given in a very I would say in a manner that kind of aligns with everything else that's going on. And like, yeah, you rightly mentioned that it's available, but it's available to a very small section of students, very small section of school going students, because a lot of schools do not have that you know you also need very skilled people to impart such information to kids, considering that it's a very sensitive thing, and like it's more subjective than the learning mechanism that you mentioned. I mean, it's a different level subjective topic that depending on what kind of emotional state the kid is in, what kind of emotional uh, scenario is present in his or her house and things like that. So yeah, I mean, we need really skilled people to kind of teach those aspects. Yeah. So now that we know that emotional intelligence helps people to navigate different situations. So while we are on the subject of challenges, let's explore how failures shapes the growth. So in your perspective, how should young learners deal with failures? And would you like to share any anecdote where you felt that it's going to fail, or you overcame failure in a way that shaped your career?
No, absolutely right. Again, see what happens is right. So when we say a failure, you need to look from two lenses, right? One is whether I am considering it as a failure or someone is telling me that is a failure. So there are two different things, right? And we have always been taught of how someone else actually tells you it is a failure. Okay, you could still get 65%, right? But someone is going to say, actually, you failed. Now, suddenly, if I'm a person, I used to think, actually, I've got 65. Why am I considered a failure now? Right? It is not a. It is. In my view, it might not be a failure. So then suddenly my mind starts thinking very differently. Why I'm saying this example is that when I in school, one of the subjects which I found very difficult was English. Okay, it's not that it was natural or not. I do not like to write very long answers or my English is very simple. And then actually I write like how I speak, right? So that's how I do. And we all know that spoken English and written English are two different things. So when I used to get marks, I used to compare there used to people, but then my father used to say, no, your English is good. I don't know why you are concerned. See, there, where I thought it was a failure, but someone said is actually not a failure, right? So suddenly we need. I think the definition of failure we need to, because when you grow up, right, it is not like a business where you are going to use millions of dollars and then, right, because it is going to be predominantly around two three areas. Education would be one area. Sports could be one area, right? I still remember my son plays cricket. He used to have a very unique action of bowling, and once I really scolded him saying that he will not make, right. But then eventually he went all the way to play cricket for Singapore, right. Then I said, look, I was completely wrong, right, because it was me trying to impose my standard of how a certain things needs to be delivered. But assume a case where someone really scores 0 out of 100 in a mathematics test, right. Now, I think by any standard, everyone will say it is a failure because you have not scored any marks. But there also, I found it has happened. In me, I mean, I absolutely have got no shame in accepting that. In my electricity and magnetism test in BITS Pilani, the first test I scored a zero. Okay, second test I scored 16 out of 18. The third quiz I scored 1 out of 10. In the fourth test, I scored 18 out of 18. So then what also I realized is there are certain topics I don't like. I don't like to
Mm-hmm.
study. I mean, I don't know the reason for it, but it gave me some kind of thing. Either I thought it was not important or do, but then if you really see, twice you have scored zero, twice you have kind of maxed the paper. Now, where do you draw a line of what a failure is, right? I think we should put lot of effort on whether the person, the effort is there or not. I think that would be the number thing. Second, I think process. I think we need to evaluate effort. We need to evaluate process, and during studying, I think let us evaluate outcomes much lesser, because in life when you go to professional, outcome matters. Okay, see there it is a very different thing. I'm just going to stick to someone who's going through the learning curve, right? I think that individual need to say, look, have I put in the right effort? Right, a right effort could be reading, spending number of hours and doing it, likingness to the subject, etc. And then the process in which how you do that also matters. See, sometimes, I am a person who tries to predict what question comes in the exam. Okay. I studied so well, right? That you predict certain questions and you give an exam paper which does not have any of those questions. Normally, I fail, right? Because suddenly you are kind of, more defeated yourself, saying that, look, the questions which I thought did not come, even though you know the answers for it, you did not write, right? So I think effort, the process, and I think if these two things are there, I think outcome will happen. And I think we should help people to get these things so that they are not defeated. And if something which they don't like, I think there is no choice. I think we can try our best, but at some point in time, we'll have to say that, look, that topic, I think we can find the reason if we go to, but I don't think we should spend so much time. And then allow people to take their stride and do it. Here also, I think, you know as long as the input and the process is right, I think the output will be perfect. I
Yeah,
know it's a
absolutely
kind of
right.
a
Like,
long winding answer, but I think
no, no,
it's important.
that was a very insightful answer. Like, where you emphasize that to basically look at how do you deal with failures. First of all, you need to define who like is defining it as a failure. And basically, if a child or anybody has kind of failed, then it's better to like kind of keep up the spirits. It's better to make them understand their efforts, and the dedication that they put in. And I think I really liked your point on uh, that. Okay, if somebody is really failing at something, then it's not to kind of judge that person that okay he or she is failing, but more like okay, maybe this is not his cup of tea. Maybe he doesn't like that, and it's okay. Just accept that. Okay, this won't get better because that person might not be so dedicated to put efforts in that. So it's okay. There are so many other things that a person can do, and this is something I realized growing up. Like I had cousins around me. I like fortunately happened to get good marks in most of the things because I like to read and stuff. But I did see people around me who used to put a lot of efforts, but they did not get marks. But like during my time when I was in school, efforts, dedication, those things were not really quantified, and so they were called a failure. But like it really hurt me, like to see those people who are my friends and others to go through something like that. So yeah, I totally agree with what you mentioned. Okay, so we now discussed about failures, careers, skills. So speaking of shaping perspectives, family discussions play a key role in developing resilience and mindset. Like you mentioned that you felt that it's a failure at some situation, but your father basically shaped your mindset and said no, it's not. You actually put an effort. So we all know that family discussions can play a role in developing your mindset. uh, but how important do you think are family discussions uh, they are for intellectual development? So we all know about dinner table conversations, how they help with students emotional uh, support and all those things. But do you think these discussions are also helpful for intellectual development? And how can parents create opportunities for their kids to kind of discuss what they learn and encourage them to think critically? And not like, so basically your intellectual development does not only happen in school while you are studying different subjects, but also when you are at home, or when you are at a vacation with your family, you're just casual discussions kind of feed your mind.
Look, I think this I feel, many factors come together, right? One is, as I said, the cultural setup in which you are there dictates. Okay. Second, I think how flexible the parents are, right? I think, see, if the parents are in a certain set of mentality, okay, then I think it is going to be very difficult. I think in modern day, people need to give that openness, right? I think the transparency of what is being discussed, what needs to be done. I think it's a very difficult thing. I mean, even if I look at my own life, whether I have done certain things rightly, I do not know. Okay, see, the challenge of this is the impact of this will be known only later. Okay. Now, if you position that way, there could be a thing where people could take a very neutral line and say that, look, let me not overdo it. Some people could overdo it. Some people could underdo it, right? So I think how we can bring that to a thing of intellectual thing is right. I still feel it goes back to my thing of saying what makes that person learn. I think we should. I think as a parent, or as a teacher, we should understand that and go around doing that. I think that is the most important thing, because if someone is not going to learn by listening, okay, then a lot of conversation which could happen in the family might not have an impact on that person, right? So, but then if we say that we're reading, might be whatever we want to do, can we give a book to that person to say, hey, read this book? Right. I think we need to be very conscious. That's number one. I think that I think is extremely critical. Then you know the letter of meaning. What is that you want to impart? Assuming that we all want to impart only good things. Now, what are those 4 or 5 good things, and how you can keep on doing it? In relationship with where you are in that society. Because I also found it, if you're not in relation with what's in society, it's very difficult for someone to understand. Right. I mean, India is a great example of the variety of languages we have. Right. So if you come from where I come from, which is south of India and Chennai, you have actually been told that you should not read Hindi. right? Because of the politics of how that state is run, right? But then somehow we all learned Hindi to a certain extent. Then I suddenly realized, if you go outside of Tamil Nadu anywhere, if you know Hindi, you can survive. See, that's the thing. Now, what do? You can't do anything about it. It's very difficult. Unless as a parent, if you have realized it, yes, this is there, but this skill is very important. So somehow you take them to an Hindi tuition or make them understand is something which you do, because the whole ecosystem will be saying don't do that, at least during my time. Right. So I think it's a very tough thing. I think sharing experience between number of people might be the most important thing, because what could one work for other need not work for other. I still remember during sometimes it's just not family. It is about your friends. I was just telling one of my friends. We used to play a very unusual game as kids. We used to play a game which is quiz. I mean, I don't know whether anyone plays it today, because that happens. It is a very this thing that I also have to read because I'm asking the questions. A couple of my friends who are junior to me, they also have to read. So there we shared a lot of information, right? Because this one I don't think was trusted by parents or anything. Because during my time when it came, the quiz programs were very popular in TVs. So we could not go to TV, so we replicate what we saw on TV. So I think it is multiple folds of how the ecosystem behaves, take it, because I don't think purely from a family setup, you can't see if it is a very good practice you have in family. I think it just gets passed generation to generation, say respecting elders, for example, kind of thing. But the intellectual thing, I think it will be too much of responsibility just to put on parents or at home. Unless it's you've got really lot of very intellectual people doing, but that also could be overwhelming on the student. But I think everyone should look at the ecosystem and see whether the ecosystem can come together to make someone intelligent. And I think as parents, they should ensure that those things are enabled at the right time, at the right point, so that they distribute their how do I say, their load. I don't think parents should take that too much. It is important, but how can they ensure that you can create an ecosystem in which the person can learn, because that would be much more beneficial, because you get a variety of inputs to do certain things.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's so right that like basically giving parents this responsibility of intellectual development might be too much for them, and might be overwhelming for the kid as well. And it also depends on the educational level of parents, and what kind of time bandwidth they have, and a lot of things. But like you mentioned that your ecosystem kind of provided you certain things which even not present in family. So that quiz part, I mean, that was really interesting to me because like as kids we have, like, I think every kid has a different game to play with their neighbors and things like that. But yeah, I've actually, when you mentioned quiz, I just remembered that I have a elder cousin who kinds of practices this thing with his kid when they are on vacation. So they have like a trivia flashcards, and then they have like taken it out from internet, and then whenever they are on vacation, or whenever they are they are in Mumbai, and when they have to like travel longer distance, they just take out that trivia card and just like try to do some intellectual stuff in that time. So yeah, like you mentioned, it has to be an extremely conscious and dedicated effort to do that, because originally or naturally it's difficult to do that, because parents already are doing so much for the kids. And like you mentioned rightly at the end, that as a parent you could just enable it, that it's happening through some way or the other. So yeah. Okay, so now switching gears a bit from a very insightful long answer conversations to a simple fun round. So this is our rapid fire round. Um, all the Coffee with Karan show fans know that already. So I would read out a question to you, and you could. It's not a one word question, of course. We couldn't we I tried, but it couldn't be a one word question. But yeah, you could like answer it in one or two sentences, because there is no competitor. So anyways, you are going to win anyways. So okay, so we have three questions here. I'll just read out the questions. Okay, so one piece of advice for parents or student about learning and success. And I'm sure like you have given already a lot in the previous conversation, but anything new that you can think of for this
I think
question?
I think I think I think people should read a lot of different subjects. I think that's extremely crucial. It does not matter sometimes whether you understand too much of details of it, right? And that's again, no, it's a very bit Pilani philosophy of how we have to do it. We have to do every course. It does not matter you're doing biological engineering, still you have to do civil engineering, still you have to do electrical engineering, still you will do thermodynamics. I think get that, right? Get to people to read a variety of things. I think that is very crucial.
Awesome. Okay, if you could redesign the education system, what's the first change you'd like to make?
I will make all the exams open book.
Okay. I think that is something that's coming from the Bits Pilani
And absolutely. In
experience
which
of,
we
you know.
love, right? And open
Yeah.
books, we actually hardly score marks, right? Because the questions would be so tough. And we used to have, and I used
Yeah.
to, all my friends used to hate me because whenever all these exams, I used to have 10 books in front of me, but I used to score the lowest because you were just trying to find answers, right? Because it's important. But then I think in the modern world, it becomes very important because now you don't need to memorize anything, right? And this is
Right.
also
Yeah.
a test for the teachers to ask the right questions, because that I think will
Oh,
fundamentally
that's
change the way how questions are taught and how answers are answered.
Oh, that's so right. Because, when I went to IIT Bombay for my master's, this was like we had the first exam and it was called open book. And like we were so happy that, okay, we don't need to do anything. It's an open book exam. Like, why do they have this? Why are they testing us? And then when we went to give that exam, we realized that not even 10 books or, other worksheets, anything would have helped here because the question is framed in such a way that you have to think and interlink concepts and and basically apply it to new scenarios, and the book's not going to help. So what you mentioned is open book is something that's not just going to help the kid, but also the teachers to then shape the question in a way which like helps the student develop critical thinking and cognitive learning more than memorizing a subject. So yeah, that's completely right. Okay, a third question. Any challenges? So this is more like a fun question to share your story. So any challenge that you faced in your school and college, and how did you tackle them?
I have faced a lot of challenges, right? I think the biggest challenge I had was I could never come out of this predicting this question dilemma, right? So the beauty is, I mean, I just with my friend, he used to say, right? Actually, I never realized that a lot of my friends will not come and see me one day before exam because they know that I'm going to ask them some questions for which they don't have an answer, right? So people used to run away from me, which I realized only quite late after I left college that why people never saw me before exam, right? So that I think is is a fun part, and I think difficulty always come, right. I think there are very difficult exams which have done very well. And I had a problem of the question paper is very simple. I normally fail in the test because my thinking is, this cannot be the answer. This is too straightforward. And then I used to complicate it so much and give a wrong answer, to do that, right? And I've done
Yeah.
that. But then once but I think, those things sometimes help you when you come to the job. Because these are the learnings, right? So now I take a lot of things at face value, start off, and then see whether there is any real problem to do it. So that really helps in a way.
Yeah, I mean, the point that you mentioned that, things are simple, but you think, okay, it cannot be so simple. And then you overthink and overcomplicate. That is like, so common with everyone and every age group and everything we do. I mean, just few days back, we were playing a game called Code Names where a person gives a hint and then you have to kind of guess which are the words. So the answer would be staring at us, but we'll be like, okay, it cannot be this easy. And then we'll complicate and then we'll mess it up. So yeah. Okay, so this is the end of rapid fire round. But yeah, I actually wanted to, just mention that I really agreed with the first thing that you mentioned, that kids should be exposed to a lot of subjects because recently you kind of I've kind of started to hear it from people that if the kids do not like, say, history or English or some subjects not so much, then why do schools restrict them to study so many, like they mandate so many subjects till the school level? And why don't you give the flexibility of just study few subjects that you like and just leave the ones that you do not like? But like I totally agree with this point that you should be exposed to a lot of subjects because it just helps in the development, and it just kind of makes you learn in so many different ways so that you become very dynamic, and then later you can learn anything if you want. So yeah, I totally agree with that. And yeah, so it's the end of our conversation. That was really nice and fun. And thank you so much for sharing your incredible insight with us today. And this is the conversation template that we prepared. We thought that when we talk to different people, oh, it's going to be same answers, and our viewers will be like, okay, they are talking about the same things every day. But to me as a host, like every time I'm in this conversation, it's a new perspective, definitely a new perspective. So it's really intriguing to see how people coming from different professional backgrounds can give so many fresh perspectives about things. So yeah, that's all for today's episode of Classroom to Boardroom.
Thanks a lot for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation, and it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you for responding to me on LinkedIn, and then being so open about talking to a complete stranger, and then accepting this offer. And yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time with more inspiring guests and valuable discussions. Be sure to check out Think Now Classroom's website for more education solutions, and till then, keep learning and stay curious. Thank you.